The very first thing I did after being reborn just before the apocalypse was spend every last cent of my girlfriend's bride price to buy a massive plot of Wasteland. Everyone thought I'd lost my mind, but I was the only one who knew the apocalypse was right around the corner. 90% of the global population would be infected and turn into zombies. And the survivors? They'd slaughter each other just to fight over scraps of supplies. Meanwhile, the doomsday safe house I built was enough to keep me alive for centuries. In my past life, I felt sorry for my dream girl, Liu Xiaoyan, and in a moment of weakness, I took her in. But that very night, she broke into my base with her guy bestie. Not only did they steal all my supplies, but they also brutally murdered the friends I had made during the apocalypse, one by one, right in front of my eyes. And as I was torn apart by the zombie horde, I closed my eyes in deep regret, thinking that if God ever gave me a second chance, I would definitely make those two scumbags pay. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually been reborn exactly 1 month before the apocalypse hit. And ringing in my ears were Liu Xiaoyan's endless complaints. Jiang Xiaoyong, why didn't you put my name on the house deed? My 600,000 bride price, not a single cent can be missing. Otherwise, don't even dream about marrying me in this lifetime. Looking at her disgusting, ugly face, I really wanted to rush up and stab her right then and there. But there was still some time before the apocalypse. I'd settle the score with her slowly later. With that in mind, I shoved her right out the door and told her to get the hell out of my sight. Liu Xiaoyan was totally dumbfounded. She couldn't understand how a man who was practically begging to drink her bathwater just yesterday could suddenly become so ruthless today. After kicking her out, a quest panel suddenly popped up in front of me. It required me to own a piece of land and prepare a full year's worth of supplies. The reward was 10 points, which could be exchanged for corresponding items in the system shop. Seeing this, I was overjoyed. With the system's help, my revenge plan was about to take a massive leap forward. Just then, my stomach started growling. I remembered how in my past life, to scrape together Liu Xiaoyan's bride price, I worked 22 hours a day and only ate one meal, leaving myself completely malnourished. Now that I was reborn, I had to treat myself right. I immediately opened up a food delivery app and ordered a massive feast. A little while later, my 3-star Michelin delivery arrived. I picked up a piece of braised pork belly worth $300, ready to take a bite. But my phone started ringing at the worst possible time. The moment I picked up, Liu Xiaoyan's bestie started yapping on the other end. Jiang Xiaoyong, Xiaoyan asking you to put her name on the deed is just a test for you. If you can't even give up that much, how do you have the nerve to say you love her? If you bring the deed and 1 million in cash right now to get on your knees and apologize, I'll help you talk to her. Otherwise, you and her are completely done. Her words instantly ignited my anger. What the hell are you two that you think you're worthy of testing me? Both of you can go to hell. I yelled, and hung up the phone right in her face. The most important thing right now was to secure a piece of land and turn it into the ultimate doomsday fortress. Soon after, I arrived at a real estate sales center. A beautiful saleswoman named Xiao Ning greeted me warmly, asking if I was looking to rent or buy. But before I could even finish my sentence, her manager ordered her to go move some boxes. Xiao Ning quickly explained that she was busy attending to a client. Hearing this, the manager just gave me a side eye and sneered at my cheap street stall clothes. He'd probably need 108 installment payments just to buy a damn toilet. What kind of client is he? Being mocked like that pissed me off instantly. Looking down on me, huh? But the manager just looked at me with pure contempt. Yeah, I'm looking down on you, so what? If a broke loser like you can even afford to buy a toilet here, I'll livestream myself eating shit. The moment he said that, I whipped out a black card. I'm not here to buy a house today, and I'm not renting either. I am here to buy land. As soon as the words left my mouth, the jaws of everyone watching dropped to the floor. Oh my god, I've lived my whole life and this is the first time I've seen someone straight up buy land. This guy is a true baller. Hearing the commotion, Xiao Ning quickly pulled me into the VIP lounge to take a seat. Seeing this, the manager just thought I was putting on a show. Let's see what you do when you can't cough up the cash later. I told Xiao Ning my requirements. It had to be near mountains and water, with convenient transportation. Ideally, it would already have a factory or a large building on it. But before Xiao Ning could even open her mouth, Manager Liu immediately sneered, "Doesn't that plot of land in the East District fit his requirements perfectly?" Xiao Ning hesitantly pointed out that the land was full of unfinished buildings, and the issues there still hadn't been resolved to this day. It wouldn't be right to sell that to a client, would it? However, Manager Liu remained entirely dismissive. Sell, my ass. This punk has made so many bizarre demands. I bet he's just here to mess with us. I took a look at the location map Xiao Ning handed me. I noticed the plot was located way out in the suburbs. Once a massive zombie horde breaks out in the city, all I'd have to do is put up barbed wire, and it would be absolutely foolproof to defend. Plus, those unfinished buildings on the site would actually save me a ton of money and construction time. I immediately decided to sign the contract and buy the land right then and there. Hearing this, Xiao Ning was stunned. "Sir, are you seriously buying that wasteland of unfinished buildings?" I let out a cold laugh. Of course I am. Hurry up, let's pay and sign the contract. Someone is still waiting to eat something fresh and steamy, after all. As he watched me pay the 300,000 deposit, Manager Liu's face was completely frozen in disbelief. I patted him on the shoulder. Now it's your time to shine. His colleagues started joining in on the heckling too. Fatty Liu, I've got the livestream rolling for you. Hurry up and go grab a glass of water. The sweet potatoes I had yesterday were a bit dry. I'd hate for you to choke on it. After sorting out the land, I headed out to stock up on some food. Unexpectedly, I crossed paths right then with Liu Xiaoyan's sugar daddy, Ji Bochang. After finding out I had bought a piece of land, he immediately called Liu Xiaoyan. She was absolutely furious. How could that broke loser Jiang Xiaoyong afford land? He must have touched my bride price money. I'm going to go settle the score with him right now. Meanwhile, I was still stressing over the funds needed to hoard supplies and build my base. But the very next second, the door was violently pushed open by Liu Xiaoyan. Jiang Xiaoyong, how dare you spend my money behind my back? I was dumbfounded for a good 2.5 seconds. Don't think I don't know you used the bride price money to buy a plot of land. Let me tell you, that bride price money belongs to the woman. You used it to buy land, which means that land belongs to me. Hearing this, I honestly thought the woman was out of her damn mind. I immediately pulled out a thick stack of cash. I smacked it hard against her shoulder. I've got plenty of money, but I am not spending a single cent on you. And don't you dare think I don't know about the filthy little affair you've got going on with Ji Bochang. Liu Xiaoyan instantly looked incredibly guilty, completely baffled as to how I had found out. But she still desperately tried to make excuses, claiming she was just playing video games with her guy best friend. Seeing the situation going south, her bestie, Wen Shuya, hurriedly stepped in to play peacemaker. Come on, both of you need to calm down. I'm sure this is all just a huge misunderstanding. Without even letting her finish, I slammed the door shut right in their faces and told both of them to get the hell out of my sight. Seeing this, Shuya asked Liu Xiaoyan if what I had just said was actually true. But Liu Xiaoyan just brushed it off, saying she had only slept with Ji Bochang a couple of times. Hearing that, Shuya felt a massive headache coming on, but her expression quickly shifted into something much more scheming. Well, since you've completely ruined things with Jiang Xiaoyong, I guess I won't hold back anymore. What are besties for, right? Early the very next morning, I arrived at the unfinished buildings to inspect the progress. Seeing my endless demands for electric fences and bulletproof glass, the head contractor nervously asked if I had somehow offended some dangerous mafia. I snapped at him to keep his nose out of things that didn't concern him. If you won't do the job, there are plenty of other grunts who will. The contractor let out a highly awkward laugh. Boss, what I mean is it's gonna cost extra. I immediately threw out an offer. How does 20 million sound? After all, once the apocalypse hits, all this cash will be nothing more than toilet paper anyway. Seeing how high my offer was, the contractor agreed in a heartbeat, frantically ordering his crew to get to work immediately. Right at that moment, Wen Shuya's voice drifted over. What are you doing way out here? Do my white thigh highs look cute on me today? Saying that, she boldly wrapped her arms right around mine. Xiaoyong, the view up here is absolutely stunning. Are you planning to build a luxury villa? Seeing her act like this, however, my eyes turned ice cold. Because in my previous life, it was this exact two-faced bitch who egged Liu Xiaoyan on to swindle away every last penny I owned. The very thought of it made me violently shove her off me. What I'm building is none of your damn business. With that said, I turned my back on her and went right back to directing the construction crew. Wen Shuya was left seething with rage, completely unable to comprehend how the shy little virgin who used to blush just from holding hands. I can't believe he didn't react at all when I was so proactive today. I bet if I wear black stockings next time, there's no way he'll be able to resist me. After getting home, I mortgaged the house to the bank and only got 3 million. That little amount is still far from the 5 million deposit needed for the construction project. Suddenly it hit me, the apocalypse is coming anyway, so what if I double-cross and sell the same house to someone else? It wouldn't matter at all. With that in mind, I was just about to head out and find a buyer, when suddenly there was a loud pounding at my door. I opened it to find Old Man Lee from downstairs. Relying on his wealth, he had already bought up both the first and second floors. And now he had his eyes on my third-floor apartment. But I was saving this place for my future marriage, so I had no intention of selling it. Because of that, this old geezer caused trouble for me every single day. He was either splashing paint on my door, or stuffing toilet paper into my keyhole. He used every dirty trick in the book. So, I made a split-second decision to just sell the house to him for 5 million. Old Man Lee was overjoyed and asked when I could hand over the place. I immediately lied to him, saying the new house I bought wouldn't be ready for another 6 months. So I still needed to live here for half a year, and I told him to transfer the 5 million to me all at once up front. Seeing him hesitate, I pretended to shut the door. Old Man Lee panicked and quickly agreed. After signing the contract with him, I let out a cold sneer. Just you wait in your precious house and die, you old bastard. Now my funds had reached 8 million. It was time to go gather supplies and complete the initial quest. A short while later, I arrived at Wernima, the biggest supermarket in the east side. Without a second thought, I started a crazy shopping spree. As long as it was useful, I grabbed it all. Seeing this, the people around me started pointing and laughing. They thought I was some idiot who read too many apocalyptic novels. But I was the only one who knew the absolute horror of having no food when the end of the world actually hits. Just then, the system notified me that the quest was complete, rewarding me with 10 points. I then used those points to redeem a protagonist supply crate. I opened it and got a spatial ring, which could suck all my supplies into an alternate dimension. And time inside this alternate dimension was completely frozen. That meant all the fresh food I hoarded would never go bad, no matter how long it stayed in there. Just as I was about to go stock up on even more supplies, a voice called out from behind me. "Who's causing trouble over here?" I turned around and saw my middle school classmate, Yang Dao. He used to be the lapdog for the school bully, Zhang Xiaoyong. He was a classic coward who only picked on the weak. We clashed a lot back in our school days. He ordered me to put everything back, or else he wouldn't hold back. To this, I just gave a soft chuckle. "I'm here to buy things. Is this how Wernima treats its customers?" Hearing this, Yang Dao demanded that I pay the bill right now. Otherwise, I shouldn't even think about walking out that door. After the cashier spent 2.5 hours ringing everything up, my total bill came to 56,000. Seeing his arrogant face, I immediately took out my bank card, swiped it, and the payment went through perfectly. Yang Dao was absolutely dumbfounded. He tried to slip away with his two cronies right then and there, but I called him out directly. I told him to apologize for his terrible attitude earlier, otherwise I'd return all the goods right this second. Furious, Yang Dao asked if I was looking for a fight. To his surprise, the crowd of onlookers started taking my side. "Hurry up and apologize to him. I've already recorded the whole thing. If you don't apologize, I'll post it online and make you go viral." Hearing them, I just smiled. As long as your apology is sincere enough, I can buy 10 times as many supplies. Seeing his disbelief, I told him to bring the machine over, and I swiped my bank card on it once more. Balance of over 7 million left. Yang Dao completely stunned. He realized that a mere security captain like him could never afford to mess with a rich guy like me. He immediately bent over in a full 180-degree bow to apologize. I just patted his head like I was petting a dog. "Don't be so reckless in the future. Always leave some room for mercy, so you don't make enemies for life. Got it?" Seeing me about to leave, Yang Dao quickly stopped me. "Boss Yang, you must be doing some massive business to buy this much stuff. The stuff in this supermarket isn't nearly enough. You need to find a wholesaler." His words immediately caught my interest. "So, you've got connections?" After that, I followed Yang Dao to a warehouse. And the supplier he mentioned turned out to be the old school bully, Zhang Xiaoyong. Seeing me dressed in cheap thrift store clothes, Jiang Xiaoyong immediately shoved Yang Dao's head and started cursing. "Damn it, what a waste of my time. This is the big client you were talking about? I've been running these streets for years. You can tell who's rich and who's broke just by looking." I actually laughed at that. Guess I really don't have that intimidating aura. I couldn't even scare off this illiterate, snobby jerk. Hearing that, Zhang Xiaoyong grabbed my collar, ready to snap. But the very next second his phone pinged with a transfer of 1 million yuan from me. His face completely changed. He didn't expect me to actually be for real. He instantly flipped his attitude and asked what kind of goods I needed. I told him I wanted everything. Rice, oil, snacks, drinks. If you can eat it or drink it, I want it all. Hearing that, a cunning smirk crept onto Zhang Xiaoyong's face as he thought to himself. He had just taken in a huge batch of near-expired food and today, some sucker was here to take it all off his hands. He then offered that if I cleared out his entire stock, he'd give me a 10% discount. I didn't agree right away. Instead, I quietly inspected the quality of the goods. To my surprise, other than the front display layer, everything stuffed in the back was practically expired. Zhang Xiaoyong totally didn't expect me to know my stuff. He panicked and immediately offered a 50% discount on the near-expired goods. But I shot him down flat. "This 5 million is for top-tier quality goods. I'll take your near-expired food at half price too, but you're not getting paid for that until next month." Jiang Xiaoyong was dumbfounded. He couldn't wrap his head around why I'd still buy them, knowing they were about to expire. I just patted his shoulder and gave him a meaningful look. "Man, forget about near-expired food. In a few days, even expired food is gonna be worth a fortune." Suddenly, my phone rang. The house I listed online had just been bought. So, I gave Jiang Xiaoyong a few quick instructions and headed back to hand over the property. Watching me walk away, the two of them couldn't help but sigh. Who would have thought this kid would make it so big? Soon enough, I was back home. It turned out the buyer was a humble old man from the countryside. He was clutching a 400,000 deposit, practically begging to sign the contract right then and there. He even agreed to let me stay for 3 more months before moving out. Seeing how desperately he wanted to buy the place, I asked if there was some kind of emergency. The old man explained that his granddaughter needed to transfer schools. They desperately needed a house here for her residency registration, and after looking everywhere, mine was the only one on the market. I chuckled dryly. Old man, you're laying all your cards on the table right from the start. Aren't you afraid I'll instantly jack up the price? The old man looked absolutely terrified. Mr. Zhang, this house costs 2 generations of our life savings. Please, you can't back out now. I took the contract and signed it without a second thought. Relax, I'm not backing out. Seeing my signature on the dotted line, the old man quickly bowed to thank me and got ready to leave. Unnecessary sympathy in the apocalypse had already gotten me killed once before. But seeing this humble, kind-hearted old man struggling at the bottom. Once the apocalypse hit, he and his granddaughter wouldn't last a month. In the end, I decided to help them out. So, I asked the old man for their current address. Fast forward a week, I arrived at the construction site to inspect the progress. The foreman told me everything was pretty much wrapped up. The entire warehouse was reinforced with solid steel and heavy-duty concrete. Forget bullets, even a missile couldn't blast through this. I was absolutely thrilled. I immediately called Jiang Xiaoyong and told him to ship the supplies. Then, paying 2,000 bucks a head, I hired some guys to sort and stack everything up. We were at it until nightfall before everyone finally left. Staring at the massive mountain of supplies, I just couldn't hold back my laughter. I never have to worry about starving again. Just then, the system pinged, notifying me that the mission was complete and rewarded me with 20 points. A new superpower supply crate in the mystery shop caught my eye. Without hesitation, I dropped 10 points to redeem it. I cracked it open and unlocked a new skill, Mind's Eye. It let me sense exactly when someone was harboring malicious intent. I couldn't help but grin. In the early days of the apocalypse, this was easily one of the most overpowered skills you could have. The system quickly followed up with a new mission, arm myself to the teeth. This mission was right up my alley. I mean, if I didn't have weapons to defend myself, wouldn't all these hard-earned supplies just become an all-you-can-eat buffet for someone else? The second I stepped into the black market, I bumped right into Ji Bochang buying fake jade. I didn't bother sticking around and headed straight into a weapon shop. I asked the owner if he had any real heavy-duty hardware. The boss looked annoyed and casually yanked a whetstone out of his pocket. This is your hardware. Take it home and sharpen it yourself. I looked at it and shook my head. Nah, not heavy-duty enough. I need something with serious firepower. The short-haired guy's eyes turned icy. He totally thought I was there to start a fight. But the very next second, his phone buzzed with my $200,000 transfer. I told him to chill out, and that I was completely serious about doing business. He instantly got the message. After telling one of his guys to keep an eye on the stall, he took me to a hidden back room. He immediately pulled out a homemade pistol and asked for $2 grand. He pitched it as something you could use to hunt a few wild pheasants or ducks. But I just shook my head. Seeing I wasn't impressed, he pulled out a much heavier hitter, a replica revolver. You can buy the ammo from me for $5 a pop. How does that sound? Honestly, I was getting pretty annoyed. I just wired you a $200,000 deposit, and you're showing me this piece of junk? Come on, man. When he heard that the 200 grand was just a deposit, the short-haired dealer just froze. I flat out told him I was looking to buy $2 million worth of firepower. He was totally stunned. This was the biggest deal he'd seen in his 20 years in the business. But he knew better than to ask questions. He immediately locked the door tight. After making sure nobody was eavesdropping outside, his expression turned dead serious. You definitely came to the right guy for this. Write down a list of what you need first. I'll give you an address in a bit. Just drive over with the cash at 2 a.m. the day after tomorrow, and we'll finish the deal. I walked out of the room feeling pretty good about it, only to bump straight into Ji Bochang. He thought I was at the black market to pawn off some heirlooms. He started mocking me, asking if I'd been brainwashed by too many clickbait videos. Selling off everything just to slack off and live an easy life. But honestly, his words didn't piss me off at all. I figured he'd be the perfect guinea pig to test out my new skill. As I activated the Mind's Eye, I saw that the short-haired dealer's loyalty toward me was through the roof. So, I instantly fired back at Ji Bochang. Yeah, I actually did sell off my stuff to live on Easy Street. But unlike you, you don't even have anything worth selling. Oh, and that cheap, second-hand bracelet you bought, are you planning to give that to the sloppy seconds I threw away? Hearing that, Ji Bochang completely lost his mind and lunged at me. I gave the dealer a look, signaling him not to kill the guy. I had my own plans for his miserable life. The dealer just let out a cold smirk. Got it, boss. You go on ahead and handle your business. We'll take good care of this piece of trash. Saying that, he and his boys completely surrounded Ji Bochang. Seeing the odds, Ji Bochang instantly dropped to his knees begging for mercy, but they beat him to a bloody pulp anyway. As he was tossed out of the black market, Ji Bochang screamed in utter humiliation, "Jiang Xiaoyong, you bastard. Just you wait." 2 days later, the dealer delivered the weapons exactly as requested. Right on cue, the system quest was completed. It even rewarded me with a bonus level 2 physical enhancement serum. Without a second thought, I injected it straight into my arm. Instantly, an agonizing wave of pain tore through my entire body. My physical stats shot up from a measly 3 points to 5. That basically boosted my overall strength by 40%. Looking at my remaining 20 reward points, I decided to max out this advantage right away. As I pushed the plunger on the second dose of serum, my physical stats hit 8 points, making me a solid 60% stronger than an average person. I locked eyes on a piece of thick steel rebar lying nearby, ready to put my new strength to the test. I lashed out with a brutal kick, and the steel bar literally snapped into a sharp bend. The sheer force even drove the end of it straight into the concrete wall. With my current power, even completely bare-handed, I wouldn't flinch for a second against the early-stage zombies of the apocalypse. After stashing the hundreds of tons of weaponry into my spatial inventory, I started running through my mental checklist to see if I'd missed anything. Suddenly, I remembered that honest, hardworking old man from the countryside. I had some time to kill, and the apocalypse was dropping tomorrow anyway, so I decided to bring him a batch of survival supplies. I figured it was the least I could do to repay him for funding my doomsday prep. As for whether he'd actually survive the end of the world, well, that was entirely up to his own luck. Early the next morning, I followed the address straight to the old man's place. His place was seriously out in the middle of nowhere. If I hadn't used the GPS, I never would have found it. Plus, renting such a rundown, cheap apartment, and on the top floor no less, really showed that the poor guy was struggling. To keep my powers a total secret, I made sure to pull the supplies out of my inventory before knocking on the door. At first, the old man thought I was the landlord coming to hound him for rent, and kept pleading for a few more days' grace. It wasn't until later that he realized the person who showed up was actually me. Looking at the massive pile of supplies stacked in the hallway, he was both shocked and completely confused. To keep his neighbors from seeing anything suspicious, I told the old man to help me move all the stuff inside first. I'd explain the whole situation to him later. After we hauled all the supplies into the apartment, I took a quick look around. The place wasn't bad at all. The door was pretty sturdy, too. If they rationed these supplies carefully, it would be enough to keep them alive for 6 months. Suddenly, a photo frame on the table made my heart skip a beat. The short-haired girl in that picture. She was the teammate I met after the apocalypse hit in my past life. That incredibly strong yet gentle girl. For a moment, I choked up on my words. Old man, is your granddaughter's name Meng Shanshan? He looked confused, wondering how on earth I knew that. Memories from my past life came rushing back into my mind like a tidal wave. She rarely talked about her past. All I knew was that her grandfather died in the ruins trying to save her. The feelings between us back then were like the gray fog of the apocalypse. We both knew they were there, but neither of us dared to cross that line. Because in a world gone to hell, love is a luxury. We were too scared to claim it, and too broken to handle it. So we just silently buried our feelings, choosing instead to be each other's strongest shield in that ruined world. But because of one stupid moment of pity, I let that toxic bitch, Liu Xiaoyan, into our group. And in the end, it got Shanshan killed right in front of my eyes. Just thinking about it makes me clench my jaw in rage. I quickly asked the old man where his granddaughter was right now. He told me she was still back in their hometown, attending school. I gently set the photo frame down. Deep down, I swore to myself that in this life, no matter the cost, I would absolutely not let history repeat itself. So, without hesitating, I told the old man everything about the impending apocalypse. I told him that my house, his granddaughter's schooling, none of it mattered anymore. The only thing that mattered right now was taking me to Shanshan's school. I'll set up a safe place for both of you, I promised. But no matter how much I explained, the old man just wasn't getting it. I had to dumb it down and warn him that a massive famine was coming. I described just how horrific people's lives become when they're starving. You can imagine it, right? I pleaded, but the old man completely brushed me off, refusing to believe a famine could ever happen in this day and age. Seeing that words weren't going to cut it, I had no choice but to show him my real power. With a single thought, I absorbed every single item in the room into my storage space. I told him straight up, this is my superpower. And I can see the future, too. Shanshan means everything to me. If you want her to survive this, you have to do exactly as I say. After a grueling 5-hour drive, we finally made it to the school by evening. Just then, a huge crowd of students gathered outside the main building caught my eye. I saw a girl with a high ponytail viciously slap another girl right across the face. You little slut, I just don't get it. How could Jiang Xiaoyong ever fall for trash like you? And the girl being bullied was Shanshan. Clutching her stinging cheek, she desperately tried to defend herself. I told you, I'm not dating him. He's the one who won't leave me alone. Hearing that, another girl in a school uniform violently kicked her. Did I say you could talk back? She shrieked. So you're saying my Xiaochen is the one throwing himself at you? And you think you're too good for him? I'm gonna strip your clothes off right here, right now. Let's see if you can ever show your face at this school again. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Get your hands off my Shanshan. A sudden shout completely cut off their vicious attack. They turned around, and the moment they saw it was her grandfather, they they immediately started mocking him. "Oh, look, isn't that your pathetic loser of a grandpa? Shouldn't you be out in the countryside planting dirt? What are you even doing here?" Seeing the commotion, a punk standing nearby strolled over, gripping a weapon. "This is between us young folks, you old geezer. Keep your nose out of it." Hearing that, the old man snapped. He charged right at them in a blind fury. "You disrespectful little brats. How dare you bully a classmate like this?" Just as another thug swung a bat right for his head, I stepped in, catching the weapon single-handedly. Then, I delivered a brutal kick that sent him flying a good 8 feet backward. The other two instantly broke into a cold sweat. "Holy crap, this guy's actually a trained fighter." One of them stammered, "Let's rush him together. There's no way he can take both of us." I easily ducked under the swinging baseball bat, and in the blink of an eye, I reappeared right behind the guy with the buzz cut. I hoisted him up by his collar and slammed him violently into the concrete. Yep, that guy's never gonna have trouble sleeping ever again. Thanks to the enhancement from the potion, my reflexes were now operating on a completely different level. Their movements looked like slow motion to me. I snatched the dagger right out of that blonde punk's hand, and smoothly delivered a brutal kick, snapping his calf in half. Once I made sure both of those lackeys were out cold, I walked straight over to the two girls who were bullying Shanshan. Without a word, I slapped the one with the high ponytail across the face. Then, I grabbed the other chick in the school uniform by her hair. "How does it feel having your hair yanked, huh?" The second she felt the blade against her neck, she burst into tears, begging for mercy. "I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. I'll never do it again." Hearing that only made the murderous intent in my eyes burn hotter. "You're not sorry. You're just scared because you know you're about to die." With that, I slashed the blade forward. She collapsed to her knees, completely paralyzed with fear. But all I cut off was her hair. It wasn't because I'd gone soft. I just didn't want to traumatize Shanshan. She hasn't been hardened by the apocalypse yet. Witnessing a murder right now would definitely mess her up. I told Shanshan to hurry up and get in the car so we could get out of there. On the way, her grandpa tried to explain things to her. "You don't have to go to school anymore, sweetie. There's a massive famine coming." Shanshan just thought the old man had fallen for another phone scam. Watching the two of them bicker in the rearview mirror, a faint smile crept onto my lips. "This time, I'll make sure to protect you." Just then, Shanshan finally asked who I was. "I'm Jiang Xiaoyong. You can just call me Xiaoyong." I told her not to let those bullies ruin her day, because odds were, they only had a few days left to live anyway. Shanshan gave me a thoroughly confused look. "Wait, is there actually a famine?" I told her the famine was just a lie I made up so her grandpa wouldn't panic. The truth was, a zombie apocalypse was about to hit. That definitely made her jump. Right on cue, an emergency news alert popped up on her phone. Massive rabies outbreak on subway. Infected individuals attacking passengers. Watching the raw footage in the article, Shanshan's face grew pale and anxious. Is it Xiaoyong actually telling the truth? I warned her that the apocalypse would fully erupt tomorrow. A mysterious toxic smog was going to instantly blanket several regions, including Province B, turning 80% of the population into zombies. And the surviving 20%? They'd soon become zombie food, or end up joining their ranks. While we were talking, traffic on the highway completely stopped. I glanced over and saw that even the emergency lane was deadlocked. The old man started panicking, worried that the zombies might catch up to us. Hearing that immediately put me on edge. Even though the infected wouldn't completely take over for another few days, a localized outbreak right here, right now, would be a massive headache. Just then, a Mercedes came barreling down the emergency lane, suddenly swerving to aggressively cut me off. Startled, I immediately slammed on the gas, completely blocking him out. Furious that he couldn't merge, he rolled down his window and started screaming his head off at me. I just glared back at him, dead-eyed. If Shanshan and the old man hadn't been in the car, I would have pulled the pistol from the glove box and ended him right then and there. After sitting there for 2.5 hours, traffic finally started moving. I figured that was the end of it, but out of nowhere, that same Mercedes swerved right at us again. I had already let him off the hook, but this guy just wouldn't quit. So, I told Shanshan and the old man to buckle up. Then, I slammed on the gas and rammed straight into him. The sheer force sent his car spinning violently into the guardrail. A second later, some blonde punk stepped out of the wrecked car, frantically dialing the traffic cops. "Hey, get me the police. Run a license plate for me. I'm gonna show you that you messed with the wrong guy." We didn't make it back to my place until late that night. I told them both to go inside and get some solid rest. Because starting tomorrow every single day was going to be a living hell. The next morning, I stood quietly by the window, soaking in the final moments of peace before the world ended. When Meng Shanshan woke up, I told her to grab her grandpa so I could give them a tour of our doomsday bunker. "These walls are poured with reinforced concrete," I explained, "and the doors are reinforced with solid steel. Unless they're packing heavy artillery, absolutely no one is getting in here. And remember, without my explicit permission, you are not allowed to bring a single soul inside." Meng Shanshan just stood there, completely stunned. If survivors flee here, are we really just going to leave them to die? I didn't answer her, I just quietly led them out to the balcony. They followed my pointing finger, and their jaws instantly dropped. Laid out before them was a makeshift shelter. Sure, the security wasn't anywhere near the bunker's level, but it was more than enough to give those survivors a temporary safe haven. If I'm not around, settle any survivors in this area, and keep a close eye out for anyone with useful skills. But until I get back, absolutely no one gets inside the main bunker. Understood? With that settled, I took them down to the food storage and immediately activated my mind's eye. In a flash, a green smiley face popped up above both their heads, the system's symbol of absolute trust. I pulled some weapons from my inventory and handed them over so they could defend themselves. I warned them, dead serious, no matter what happens, do not let these weapons fall into anyone else's hands. Right then, a new system quest popped up. Find and rescue my comrade from my past life, Zhang Kai. Reward, 20 points. Seeing that, my heart leapt with joy. I had just been stressing over how to track down my old brother in arms. I quickly told the two to lock the place down. I've got something critical to take care of, I told them, before hopping in my car and speeding away from the bunker. I raced toward Zhang Qi's location. But right at that moment Zhang Kai was in deep trouble. Just because he accidentally bumped into some girl at the KTV, an arrogant rich kid kicked him straight to the floor. Are you blind, you little punk? As Zhang Kai hit the ground, Fatty stepped up, demanding to know why the guy was throwing punches. The rich kid just smirked and cracked his knuckles. Then he grabbed Fatty and hoisted him right up into the air. You fat pig, you dare talk back to me? I'll boil you alive in a pressure cooker, you hear me? A nearby waiter, seeing things escalate, hurriedly rushed over to break it up, barely saving the two of them from a brutal beating. When the two came stumbling back into their private room looking like hell, Buzzkid immediately asked what happened. Hearing his bros got bullied, he was furious. He pulled out his phone, ready to call for backup and get revenge. But before he could even dial, the room's door was kicked wide open. The rich kid swaggered in, backed by a whole crew of thugs. Seeing the thugs were all holding weapons, the college kids froze, too scared to make a move. They had no choice but to squat on the floor like they were told. But Buzzkid wasn't having it. You think ganging up on us makes you tough? Let me make one call, if you've got the balls. The rich kid's answer was a heavy liquor bottle smashed straight across Buzzkid's head. Buzzkid dropped cold, completely unresponsive. Seeing his brother lying motionless on the floor, Zhang Kai snapped. With a furious roar, he launched himself right at the rich kid. And a massive brawl broke out. But in the chaos no one noticed. The waiter who had been knocked out earlier started coughing violently as dark blood began to leak from his eyes. He was turning. He was becoming a zombie. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the room. One of the rich kid's thugs got his shoulder ripped open by the waiter's teeth. Damn it, are you a freaking rabid dog? Seeing the blood, a few guys rushed forward, desperately trying to pull the zombified waiter off him only to get their own arms bitten in the struggle. The zombie tackled them hard to the floor. He's lost his mind. He's too damn strong. Somebody get him off me. Before he could even finish screaming, someone grabbed the zombie by the throat and slammed it brutally into the wall. I glared at the room, my eyes cold as ice. Nobody move a muscle, or I'll end you myself. Seeing me pin that ridiculously strong, crazed waiter to the wall with just one hand, the entire room went dead silent. Once I made sure Zhang Kai hadn't been bitten, I barked at him, get in the car. We're leaving, now. But the rich kid forcefully grabbed Zhang Kai. You're not going anywhere, our business isn't finished yet. But before he could even finish his sentence, the lackey who got bitten started groaning about a splitting headache. Everyone just thought his cold was getting worse. But I was the only one who knew he was already infected. And the bite mark was dangerously close to his brain. He'd probably mutate in less than 3 minutes. So, I grabbed the infected waiter and hurled him straight into the private room's bathroom. In the early stages of the apocalypse, these zombies had no idea how to open doors. That door was more than enough to trap it. Then, I turned my gaze back to Zhang Kai. Tell me, which of these punks just said they were gonna cripple you? But before Zhang Kai could even get a word out, that rich kid came swinging right at me. You've got a lot of nerve, you little punk. Seeing this, I just slammed my palm down and pinned him straight to the floor. Seeing their boss get wrecked, the rest of his goons swarmed me all at once. But with just a few casual punches, I laid every single one of them out flat. Right at that moment, the infected guy started convulsing violently. I knew this was the immediate precursor to mutation. I instantly ordered Zhang Kai to grab his friends and get the hell out of there. The rich kid and his crew tried to slip away too, but I blocked their path dead in their tracks. You almost got my brother killed in here just now. You really think you can just walk away? With that, I shoved him hard right back into the room, and then locked the door from the outside. The rich kid was absolutely furious, swearing to himself that he'd skin me alive the second he got out. But the very next second, his newly turned zombie lackey lunged right at his throat. Blood-curdling screams quickly echoed from inside the room, and the commotion caught the attention of a waiter out in the hallway. I warned him absolutely not to open that door under any circumstances, and told him to call the cops first. Tell them there's a highly aggressive rabies patient in here, I said. Hearing this, the waiter looked completely skeptical. Even if it's a rabies flare-up, there's no way they'd be making this much of a racket. So, the two of them hurried over to the security room to check the cameras. But the footage playing on the monitors made their blood run absolutely cold. Inside the private room, the people were literally tearing into each other's flesh. The scene was utterly gruesome. In an instant, the entire KTV descended into absolute chaos. Meanwhile, I dragged Zhang Kai along, rushing toward the bunker at top speed. In the car, Zhang Kai poured out his thanks and kept asking who I really was. I made up an excuse, saying I was hired by someone to protect them. As for who the employer was, no comment, I said. Bottom line is, if you guys want to keep breathing in this new world, then you have to do exactly as I say. Just then, a system notification popped up, telling me the mission was complete. I was rewarded 20 points. I wasn't in any rush to redeem a reward crate, though. Because right now, there was a much thornier problem at hand. Among these 3 buddies Zhang Kai brought along, one of them was a traitor. I knew this because, in my past life, Zhang Kai had cried and told me that he had been completely betrayed by one of his dorm mates. That betrayal led to the rest of the guys being torn apart by zombies. Zhang Kai was the only one who barely made it out alive. As for which one of them it was, I still had no idea. I could only bring them back first and slowly test them out. Meanwhile, over with Liu Xiaoyan, she was busy begging Ji Bochang for supplies. But Ji Bochang just blew her off, saying he had his hands full, and that he'd drop them off when he was done. With that, he just hung up on her. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on her door. Liu Xiaoyan jumped in fright. She tiptoed cautiously to the door, terrified that those crazed rabies patients had found her. Peeking through the peephole, she realized it was just her bestie, Wen Shuya. What is wrong with you, knocking that hard? Are you trying to scare me to death? But Wen Shuya was breathless. Old man Liu and his grandson from the first floor. They both got hauled away by cop cars and ambulances this morning. I heard he bit his own grandson until there was barely half a body left. Oh, right. Did Ji Bochang send over those supplies he promised you yet? Liu Rian said she didn't. Hearing this, Shuya suddenly came up with a plan. Hurry up and tell Ji Bochang. Jiang Xiaoyong has a massive stash of supplies over there. Enough to let him make an absolute fortune during this outbreak. Liu Xiaoyan looked confused. How on earth do you know all this? Wen Shuya explained. After I got kicked out of Jiang Xiaoyong's place last time, I had one of my little simps follow him around. He found out that at Jiang Xiaoyong's warehouse, there are tons of delivery trucks loaded with supplies, going in and out every single day. Liu Xiaoyan was taken aback. Don't tell me, did Jiang Xiaoyong know about this mad flu outbreak in advance? Wen Shuya scoffed dismissively. Big deal. Didn't Ji Bochang find out right away, too? Give him a call right now. This is the perfect chance to let someone else do our dirty work. That way, not only do we solve our food shortage, but we can also cash in big time. Meanwhile, on our end, we had already made it back to the fortress. Seeing us, Meng, Shanshan and the old man came out to welcome us. I had the old man show Zhang Kai and his crew around, and specifically told him to lay down the rules of the place. But right at that moment, Lao San suddenly spoke up, asking if I could hand out some weapons to them, too. He claimed he just wanted to do his part in defending the place. Hearing that, my gaze turned ice cold, piercing right through him as I sized him up. Beside him, little fatty quickly whispered a warning. Hey, don't push for weapons so fast. We literally just got here. You've gotta at least give them time to trust us first, right? I told them to relax, promising I'd issue their weapons in a few days. For now, I said, let's just get Chen Chong to the med bay and check on his injuries. Once everything was settled, Lao San immediately turned on little fatty. Old four, what the hell were you doing stopping me back there? If you hadn't gotten in the way, he probably would have handed over the guns. Look at our situation right now. To put it nicely, we're being protected. To put it bluntly, we're under freaking house arrest. Little fatty quickly tried to calm him down, telling him not to talk like that. Come on, he literally saved our lives, but Lao San was already on a roll and wasn't stopping. Are you blind? The doors and windows in that med bay are thicker than a damn prison cell. They claim they're taking Chen Chong in for treatment, but for all we know, they're in there harvesting his organs. So, if we want to make it out of here alive, we have to strike first. Little fatty begged Lao San to calm down. What if you're wrongly accusing them? Wouldn't we just be biting the hand that feeds us? Lao San let out a cold, dark chuckle. I would rather betray the whole world, than let the world betray me. As long as we wait for that Xiaoyong to leave, we can easily take down the old man and the girl. Then this entire fortress will be ours. Plus that girl is pretty damn cute, too. At those words, the room went dead silent. Seeing the absolute shock in little fatty and Zhang Qi's eyes, Lao San coughed awkwardly, quickly waving his hands. Hey, I'm just messing with you guys. It's just a joke. Zhang Kai let out a massive sigh of relief. Jesus, Lao San, don't scare me like that. It's not even the freaking apocalypse yet, and you're already talking about doing crazy, illegal stuff. Besides, if they really wanted to hurt us, they would have done it already. They're the ones with the guns, remember? But the second those two walked out the door, Lao San's expression instantly turned totally cold. Fools, you can't plan anything great with a bunch of cowards. In times of chaos, you have to be absolutely ruthless. Just wait until my plan works. You two losers can be my lapdogs for the rest of your pathetic lives. Meanwhile, back on my end, I told Meng, Shanshan and the old man to turn in early, making sure to warn them that, aside from Chen Chong, they needed to keep a very close eye on Zhang Qi's two classmates. I had a strong gut feeling that one of those two was definitely a backstabbing snake. After that, I headed down to the warehouse all by myself. I spent my points to redeem all free supply crates from the system store, and popped them open one by one. The farming supply crate gave me 5 corn seeds, and as for the sugar, oil, and protein crate, it gave me 200 kilograms of starch sausages, 100 kilograms of ready-to-eat meals, and 50 boxes of pickled cabbage instant noodles. And as for the final armed deterrence supply crate, it yielded 150 rounds of 9mm ammo. Even though these supplies were a bit worse than what I'd hoarded myself as time went on, they'd become absolutely more precious than 100 tons of gold. But bright and early the next morning, the fortress gates were blocked by several cars, with a single order from their boss. Over a dozen thugs armed with machetes and baseball bats started smashing the doors like crazy. They kept hacking at it for 2.5 hours straight, but the doors held strong. Boss, there's gotta be an inch of steel plating behind this door. We ain't never getting through with just these tools. The guy in charge was absolutely furious, and immediately ordered his men to pop the trunk. They hauled out a crate of Molotov cocktails, lit them up, and chucked them straight over into the fortress. Instantly, the compound erupted in flames. Shanshan saw what was happening and frantically gathered the others to fetch water. Meanwhile, the old man and I grabbed our rifles and scrambled up the watchtower to see what was going on. The old man recognized him right away. The punk calling the shots was the exact same jerk we clashed with yesterday. He was standing out front, screaming his lungs out, threatening that if I didn't come out and take my beating, he'd burn the whole fortress to ashes. Hearing that, I didn't hesitate. I pulled the bolt and loaded a round. I aimed right at him and squeezed the trigger. Bang! My bullet snapped his arm clean off. He dropped to his knees, screaming in pure agony. He staggered back to his feet, trying to make a run for it with his lackeys, swearing he'd make me pay for this. But like hell I was gonna give them the chance. I pulled the trigger again, spraying bullets at them relentlessly. Every single punk bringing up the rear got gunned down. The boss barely managed to crawl into the car, screaming at his driver to step on the gas and get out of there. I reloaded with one hand and laid down a hail of suppressing fire on the speeding car. My moves were so smooth that the old man just stood there, completely stunned. He muttered that even back in his youth, serving in the military, he was never that good. Just who the hell is this kid? Within seconds, everyone inside that car was dead, but I didn't let the old man go out and clear the bodies. Instead, I just let those scumbags turn into the infected. They'd be perfect target practice for Zhang Kai and the others. But it wasn't long before Ji Bochang, Liu Xiaoyan, and their little group showed up right at the gates. Shuya sensed the danger and didn't want to get out of the car, but Xiaoyan aggressively yanked her out anyway. The two women started creeping toward the fortress, while Ji Bochang and his men cowardly hid further back. They were waiting for me to drop my guard, planning to ram the gates and slaughter me. But the moment those two got close to the gates, they froze in absolute horror at what they saw. Over a dozen mangled corpses were scattered all over the ground. Still, desperate for supplies, the two of them bit the bullet and kept moving, soon making it right up to the main doors. But the steel doors wouldn't budge an inch. Their suspicious creeping around immediately caught Shanshan's eye. Who the hell are you two? And how did you find this place? Xiaoyan yelled back, I'm Xiaoyong's girlfriend. Tell him to come out here right now. Hearing this sudden intrusion totally threw me off. I instantly activated my mind's eye and saw dangerous, glowing red indicators floating right above their heads. I knew right then and there they were out for my blood. So, I shouted out, asking exactly how many weapons they brought. And if Ji Bochang was hiding nearby. The two women totally froze. They had no idea how I knew all that. Bang, bang, bang. I fired warning shots to force them back. Shuya frantically grabbed Xiaoyan, who was about to throw a tantrum. Just calm down. The guy has a gun. What are you so afraid of? You think he actually has the guts to shoot me dead? I let out a cold chuckle. Shooting you dead? That would be letting you two off way too easy. I want to watch you get torn apart and eaten alive by these freaks. Dying slowly in absolute agony, now that's what you deserve. Right as I said that, the bodies scattered on the ground started dragging themselves up. Jaws unhinged, they lunged straight at the two of them. Terrified, the women bolted, running for their lives. Ji Bochang, who was supposed to be their backup, took one look at the infected and immediately turned tail and ran. Seeing him ditch them, Wen Shuya and Liu Xiaoyan screamed bloody murder. The infected were closing in fast on Liu Xiaoyan. In a moment of pure desperation, she hurled her bag right at Wen Shuya's feet, sending her crashing hard to the ground. The infected didn't miss a beat. They swarmed over her, tearing into their fresh meal. Wen Shuya let out a blood-curdling scream. Liu Xiaoyan, you absolute bitch. Using the distraction, Liu Xiaoyan sprinted away as fast as she could, frantically muttering to herself. You brought this on yourself. This isn't my fault. It's not my fault. Watching this whole horrific scene unfold, I didn't feel a thing. My face was completely deadpan. Beside me, Meng Shanshan was trembling with fear. Those things. How did they just turn into monsters out of nowhere? I looked at Shanshan and told her that today was the official start of the apocalypse. The air is now thick with an otherworldly pathogen. Anyone who dies, gets injured, or even just has a weak immune system. If they stay outside too long, the chances of them mutating into one of those things are sky high. I immediately called everyone together for an emergency meeting, ordering them to lock every single door and window tight. We needed to give our bodies time to slowly adapt to the pathogen. Zhang Kai looked absolutely sick with worry. But what about Chen Chong? He's injured. We all turned to look at him. Chen Chong's veins were bulging darkly through his skin. The mutation had already begun.